As you have noticed, I'm the only woman on the panel, and I'm also the only Saudi person on the panel. But let me put the Saudi word in inverted commas, because I need to tell you about a little history that is very personal. I came to Britain in 1983 as a young student who wanted to pursue her education at the most esteemed universities in Britain. I went to Cambridge, I did my master, and also I did my PhD. As I finished my PhD in social anthropology, looking at the history of Saudi Arabia, my father got a phone call from nobody but Prince Salman at the time. He was the governor of Riyadh. And Prince Salman conveyed the information to my father that if I publish my PhD thesis, I will be subjected to disciplinary action, whatever that means. Well, of course, I went ahead and published my dissertation and published another 14, 15 books afterwards. I remained Saudi, living in Britain, moving to different jobs, becoming a professor at British universities here in London, first at King's College, and then I moved to LSE. But in 2005, I got another phone call from my father, who was informed by the King of Saudi Arabia that my Saudi nationality was withdrawn. So, luckily, I was a British citizen by that stage. Why was it withdrawn? Because I went on television to object to the fact that Saudi women were deprived of participating as voters and candidates in the municipal elections. We're not talking here about national elections, a parliament, God forbid, because in the Saudi Islamic tradition, our constitution is the Quran, and there is no need for elected parliaments because the king knows it all, and he can decide for everybody. So I lost my Saudi passport, but my story is not unique. You probably have heard in the last 2 weeks the story about Rahaf al-Qunun, who escaped from Saudi Arabia, ended up in Thailand, and then Canada luckily accepted her as an asylum seeker. According to the United Nations, UNHCR, there are now over 2,000 Saudi asylum seekers going to the United States, to Canada, and Britain. So this wealthy country, where we are told that British expats love to go and work there and earn untaxed salaries, want to go to that country, we find that the Saudi men and women are leaving the country. So if you're worried about migration and asylum seekers, we are heading towards a crisis in Saudi Arabia. Today, Saudi Arabia is a pressure cooker on the verge of implosion, simply because the so-called reforms of the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Talal, who is hailed by the international media, from the New York Times to the Washington Post to our press here in Britain, is the great revolutionary reformer. He allows Saudis to go to concerts, and he allows women to attend football matches if accompanied by their male guardians. So this top-down revolution that is happening is producing asylum seekers, is producing the people, the real people who have been mentioned by my colleague Mehdi Hassan. So from women activists, from people who are simply tweeting, people who are at university. My colleague Hatoun El-Fassi, she studied in Manchester University. She is an archaeologist specializing in deciphering the inscription of the Nabatean civilization in the north of Saudi Arabia, that Mohammed bin Salman wants to become a tourist attraction, encouraging you, the educated audience, to go and see these archaeological sites. She specializes in deciphering the inscriptions of this ancient civilization. She is now in prison and has been since June 2018. Her crime, nobody knows. According to the Saudi press, we have the front pages of this Saudi-owned newspapers talking about these women activists who had been put in jail as traitors, as agents of foreign governments. I myself is called also a traitor, an agent of the British intelligence services.